a lot of problems that the world is facing today are because the scientific method does not include turning inwards. The scientific method questions all objects, all matter, the entire universe quite rigorously, but the scientific method just does not question the observer or the subject or the ego. The scientific method says, if I am experiencing something, that is the final proof of its existence. However, the higher state of consciousness, faith, looks at the subject as well and says, how am I so sure that I am? How am I so sure? Should I not first look at myself? The more faith looks at itself, the more it finds itself unreliable. And if something is unreliable, if something has been assembled bits and pieces from here and there, how can it be an absolute? Therefore, the higher state of consciousness refuses to take the subject as an absolute. It says, no, the subject is not an absolute. There has to be something higher than the subject, because this subject is all conditioned, as you are saying in your question, Ashish. This subject is so very conditioned. This subject has no authenticity, nothing original about itself. Everything about the subject is coming from here and there. The subject looks at the object influences the subject. Some part of the subject's consciousness comes from its genetic origins. Some part comes from the experiences it has had during its lifetime. How can this kind of an assembled subject be called an absolute? Therefore, faith starts looking for something that is higher than the subject. To begin with, that which is questioning the subject is higher than the subject. That which is questioning the subject is higher than the subject, and that is commonsensical. The investigating agency has to be higher than the investigated object. No? But then the agency that is questioning the subject is itself some layer of the subject. No? So even that layer would be contaminated by conditioning. Therefore, even that layer has to be transcended. So you move to the next layer, and then to the next layer, and then to the next layer. Finally, you place absolute trust only in something that is not at all conditioned or contaminated or subject to be influenced by anything. The absolute has to be something that is not a product of conditioning or physical processes, space or time. Are you getting it? That's faith. Faith that refuses to take the person, his mind, his ego, his concepts, with any seriousness. Faith says, forget about what you are saying or claiming. Even the one making claim is not worthy of any trust. How do I trust your claims when even you cannot be trusted? You are saying so many things about water. How do I trust those things that you are saying about water when even you are surely not trustworthy? So you see, the believing mind lives in stories, imaginations. The scientific mind dismisses all stories, all imaginations, but one. That's the limit of science. Science does not admit any subjective stories, any imaginations, any fancies. But one story sneaks in through the iron gate of science. That iron gate is meant to defend against all subjective bias. But still, one fundamental bias manages to sneak in. What is that one fundamental bias? The world does exist. That story science never bothers to question. And why does science easily admit that the world does exist? Because the one making the claim it is believed does exist. So out of the 100 things, science questions 99. What is that one thing that science does not question? The self. And then comes the higher state of consciousness in which everything is questioned and dismissed. Even the questioner is then questioned and dismissed. Finally, there is nobody left to question anything or dismiss anything. Then there is just the absolute, and that is faith.